Reddit, what's your love story? We have been friends since we were like 6. Played Pokemon games together and played pretend as our favorite video game characters with our other friends from school. We are still pals all through grade school and middle school and even into high school, despite different high schools. I was constantly at his house. We were the best of friends. We even started playing Smash competitively together. We were inseparable. Our friends would joke about "wow, just date already?" And we'd laugh it off like haha. No, we are just real good friends, ha 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 ha. At some point, I started liking him as more than a friend. I was so confused because oh man, I don't want to ruin our friendship. I don't even know how to tell him. Does he like me? Being a 16-17-year-old girl was a confusing time. I eventually confide in a friend of ours, who makes it his mission to get us together. After some hilarious failed attempts. Do not drive after wisdom teeth surgery, dude, WTF. He dragged me out of my house without shoes after school one day and took me to my crush's house. And then left me there. Without my car. Or shoes. Or wallet or anything. We spent the day as usual, playing games, going to Dairy Queen and grabbing ice cream, hanging out. Then I somehow got the nerve to let him know how I felt right before he had to take me home. We've been dating for almost 8 years now. We are talking about moving in together when he finishes up paramedic school. He's still my best friend. So it works out pretty well, haha. I started working for the company she was head of HR at. The moment I laid eyes on her in the hallway the first time, I was hired by the company owners remotely. I knew I'd spend the rest of my life with her. She just had something about her and I knew I had to have it forever. Turns out she thought the same thing. We were both unhappily involved with others at the time. Ended it with our other SOs, got together, ended up leaving the company. They fully supported us and not the reason we left, and went on to start our own businesses. Our relationship and our businesses are thriving many years later. I despise cold weather and never wanted to be a father, but now I live in a cold weather location and am a proud stepdad to 2 awesome kids, and I couldn't be happier because I have the love of my life to share it all with. You go along in life and think you have it all planned out, then someone like her walks into your life and happily ruins all of your best laid plans. Can't wait to leave the office and go hug and kiss her. Our goodbyes at the beginning of every day are way too long, and our hello agains at the end of the day are never long enough. We were in the same 2nd grade class, and he had a massive 8-year-old crush on me. He wrote me a note professing his love for me and slipped it under my school box. Another student noticed, gave the note to the teacher, which she proceeded to read out loud and mortified him. 2 years later, in 4th grade, his family moved across the country for his mom's job. Fast forward 8 years, we were 16, he adds me on Facebook and starts messaging me, asking me if I remember him. I had no recollection. He tells me all these stories about us when we were in 2nd grade, and I was totally creeped out. I checked my yearbook, and he did exist, but it didn't jog my memory at all. We kept chatting, and he mentioned that his extended family still lived in my home state and he came up to visit frequently, suggesting that next time he was in town we should get together. We did just that, and from then on we were in a relationship. He lived 1,000 miles from me. We dated for 5.5 years at this distance. We flew to see one another about every 3 months all those years. I then moved closer to him when I went to graduate school. We moved in together a year later. Upon graduating with my master's, we moved back to our home state. His family had recently moved back as well. Last fall we got engaged, and we were married this summer. Oh, and about 2 years into our relationship my mom found a note in a scrapbook that he had written me in 2nd grade. It was displayed at our wedding. We had spoken on the phone countless times and could always make each other genuinely laugh. The first time I actually met her in person, she stuck out her hand to shake mine and I immediately thought, holy shit. There she is. That's who I'm going to marry. We met on vacation in 2006. I was 11 and he was 12. I guess I didn't know what love was at that age, but when I saw him my heart sank into my shoes and I couldn't speak. My cheeks got red and he seemed very flustered too. My sister was his neighbors, they were on vacation with their families, classmate. We spent 2 amazing days, talking, playing on the beach, child love, the purest love I think there is. He told me that the next day, he had something important to tell me, but he left abruptly. Someone stole his father's passport and they had to go to the police station and then back to the city. There was no Facebook, we had no phones, I just knew his name. Fast forward to 2011, I remembered him after a bad breakup. I was 16, I know what a drama, and I searched my sister's classmates' friends list on Facebook and added every single guy with his name, hoping I would find him. 2 months later, it was New Year's Eve, I completely forgot about him. I went onto Facebook and the only one active was this Luke person. I had this sudden urge to see who he was and why he was on my friends list. We talked for hours, I liked talking to him, and hours later, he told me a story about a girl he met at the beach and how he was supposed to tell her he loved her and then he had to leave because someone stole his dad's passport. I was so shocked. I told him that was me. He didn't believe it, but then he sent me a picture he had at home of mine, which he took in 2006 with his mom's camera. We met 2 days later to hang out. Been together for 7 years now. We were in the same undergrad maths course. We sat down in real analysis and the lecturer asked if anyone knew how to prove that root 2 was irrational. I, being a massive nerd, had already read the recommended reading material during the summer and knew this was a pretty basic proof. But I didn't want to make myself look like a know-it-all on my first day, so I kept quiet. After a few seconds of quiet murmur, a girl in the second row puts her hand up and recites the proof meticulously and accurately. Well, color me impressed, and she looked pretty cute too. I started making friends and we were on our way off campus to grab lunch, and she happened to be asking where everyone was going and we all ended up lunching together. As it so happens, she needed a lift to a train station every day to get back home, and that was on my way back too, so I ended up giving her a lift. A few months down the road she broke up with her then BF and we started dating. It technically wasn't cheating, but I did feel guilty, but we fell in love and did everything together. On Valentine's Day she wrote an incredibly sweet letter to me professing how much I meant to her. Then 9 months later, she ended up taking some dude into her room who was just sleeping on the floor. He had fallen on hard times, was also part of our course and needed some help. I trusted her. We mutually broke up because we knew we didn't have a future together, which was fine. But then she told me she was dating the guy on her floor not a week later. That's when I got up and walked away mid-conversation, and the next 2 undergrad years were filled with awkward silences for my friends to endure. Fun times. I now agree with the phrase, if she'll cheat on him with you, she'll cheat on you with someone else. But, it was love. Young love, but it was definitely love. Met when I was 18, he was 22. Both were servers. Had a fling on and off for 10 years. Never wanted anything more. We'd go 3 to 4 years without seeing each other or talking due to other relationships and going off to college. My golden birthday I was blitzed off Jameson shots and called him up for a booty call. 6 weeks later I find out I'm pregnant. He was back dating a random girl but wanted to be a part of our kid's life. Fast forward to birth of our son, we started spending more and more time together. Meeting extended families, having outings together. We fell in love and are expecting our second son in March. He is the best boyfriend/man I have ever been with. Ass backwards way of finding the one, but it happens when you truly don't expect it. 4 years together so far. Met the summer after I graduated high school in 2013 while I toured the campus he was attending. He was 2 years older, so when he showed interest I didn't think it'd lead anywhere because I thought he was way out of my league. I attended a different university than him, but we still kept our relationship going. Fast forward to 2017, he proposed in France during my last spring break. Getting married later this year. We both swiped right. This is long as frock, but it's pretty cute. October of 2016, I matched with a guy on Tinder. He looked like a super serious security guard in his pics, but he was cute as frock and I figured he'd probably be a good time if he loosened up. So we exchanged numbers, and he still seems super serious over text. He asks me to go to a networking event with him later that night, and I accept. He tells me to wear red, and now I'm more interested in serious security guard guy. So I'm out shopping for a red dress when my iPhone runs out of data. I can't receive iMessages unless I'm connected to Wi-Fi. I find the perfect red outfit, head home, and ask him what time the networking event is at and what time we'd be meeting up. I never get a response from him, even once I'm connected to Wi-Fi. I then come to the assumption that serious security guard found another date and ditched me. The next day I receive a text from him that says, "How are you?" I delete his number and tell all my friends about the asshole who told me to wear red, ditched me, then had the nerve to ask me how I was doing the next day, with no explanation of what happened the night before. Later on that day I accompany one of my friends to her doctor's appointment, and connect to the hospital's Wi-Fi while in the waiting room. Within a few minutes of connecting, my phone is flooded with iMessages from the last 24 hours. 4 of which happen to be from the serious security guard. The event is at 7, I can pick you up at 6:30, you still want to go? Hello. You must have dropped your phone in a toilet or something. I felt so bad. Here I had been talking mad chat about this dude for ghosting me, meanwhile he thinks I did the same thing to him, yet still asked me how I was doing the next day. I explained what happened. I don't think he believed me, but homeboy was still down to meet up. I was going out of town for a wedding that weekend, so I told him we could hang out when I got back. Sure enough, the night I get back into town he hits me up and asks if I'd like to go to the movies. We're discussing movies and times over text and then he calls. We didn't end up going to the movies that night, but we did take bong rips on the phone with each other and talk for 4 hours. Serious security guard was actually cool as frock. The next night we decide to meet up at a coffee shop at 9 p.m. for open mic night. I get to the coffee shop, and he's way less serious looking than his pictures. Open mic night started at 6 and ended 2 hours ago. So we decide to take our drinks and go listen to music and smoke in his car. We sat in his car talking until 7 a.m. the next morning, and have pretty much been in love ever since. On November 7th it was a year since our coffee shop meetup, smiley face. Met a woman at a graduate school party. We were the only smokers, so we spent a lot of time together outside and got to know each other a little. She straight-faced told me that she was coming home with me that night. That started a year-long fling that was just awesome. After a year to the date, she said that her feelings for me were getting too strong and decided to end it. We had stated early on that we both weren't looking for anything serious, but I would have said that we had moved to the dating part of the relationship. I was devastated, but I gave her her space. 3 weeks later, she said that she made a mistake and wanted me back. After letting her twist in the wind for a few days as payback, we started officially dating. Since then, everything has gone wonderfully. Moved in with her after another year. We moved across country together for better job opportunities. We got engaged, bought a house, then got married. Now, she is 14 weeks pregnant and I couldn't be happier. Downloading a custom map called Defense of the Ancients on Warcraft 3. 7 years later, we're still going strong. I saw her at the shelter. She went while jumping at the fence to try and get to me, and wouldn't calm down until she was in my arms. Little did I know then, but she was the only one of her litter who hadn't been adopted already. It was destiny. She still loves to be carried everywhere, 5 months later. And I love her too much to stop. Dogs are the best. We met on Reddit. We Skyped every day for hours, for the whole summer. We never dated. Amsterdam-Melbourne is too far, especially as a teenager. But I loved him. I've never felt that way about anybody. But then I found out that he lied to me about everything. His name, age, and gender were truthful, but everything else wasn't. He said he wanted to see how far he could take a lie. The night I found out, I'd met him on Instagram and called him dozens of awful names. He said I love you. But then he unsent it? It's fucked me up since then. Did I imagine it? Am I crazy? Was he just trying to hurt me even more? Did he know that I would have said I love you back? Anyways, I just need to forget about it. Sometimes love is shitty and doesn't work out. Not gonna like, I'm crying RN though. Fresh wounds still. Early MySpace days. He moves to my extremely tiny town to live with his father for a while and save money. Searches for people to hang out with. Of all the people he messaged, 20 plus. I was the only one to message back. He was cute, why not? We message back and forth. Finally meet. Super cute. He thinks I'm cute, too. We continue to hang out, he asks me to be his girlfriend a month or so down the road. I'm super unsure, I had bad previous relationships. However, I go with it. I like him, he likes me. Isn't that how it's supposed to work? It's cool for a while. But I've got insecurities. Issues. I bristle when his friends come over. I get annoyed at stupid things, instigate fights. I don't understand how to communicate, nor do I really understand what's going on in my own mind. He tries his best to keep up with me and keep me happy, he really does. But for some reason I was just never satisfied. Finally, I, sort of, realize that I'm on some sort of self-destructive path. And it does not include him. So I break up with him. Over the course of the next 2-3 years I make mistake after mistake, trusting wrong person after wrong person. Most mistakes I make out unscathed, some leave scars. All the while, my space guy would randomly get in contact with me here and there. Everything was friendly, cordial, comfortable. My life was a constant whirlwind of stress and chaos, and when we'd go to lunch or just for a drink, it slowed down and I could breathe. But that's what friends do, right? He was a friend. 4 years since the first meet-up, I found myself single and back at my parents'. I was starting from scratch. I had grown up the hard way, I learned how loyal I could be, I also learned humility. I called my space guy one day out of the blue to hang out. He's in town the next day, a long drive, and I finally take notice of how far he goes out of his way. Not really just for me, but for all of his friends. Super genuine. We begin to see each other regularly again. Once a week. Now twice. I find myself trudging through the work weeks to make it to the weekend when I can see him. 5 months into the year, he slams on the brakes. He asks me to be his girlfriend. I balk. I don't answer. Old feelings are coming back and they are petrifying. Now he's giving me an ultimatum, and I understand why. He can't continue seeing me if I'm going to string him along again. He doesn't want a broken heart again. I don't answer. He takes that as a no. And leaves. That day I wrestle with thoughts, emotions, etc. I sit by myself and contemplate on the future. I'm anxious, having anxiety attacks. Looking at my phone every half a minute to see if he's contacted me. He hasn't. My chest is tight as I try to figure out what to do. Then suddenly, like a gunshot, the thought rips through my conscious mind. I'm more scared to lose him than I am to be his girlfriend. Literally made my breath catch in my throat. Suddenly felt at peace and so much more calm than I had been before. Knew what I had to do. Grabbed the phone. Called him and left a message for when he got out of work. When he got out of work he called me, told me to come over. It was a long drive, but he was worth it. That was May 27, 2011. Fast forward to May 27, 2016 and we said our vows. I have never felt this level of comfort and excitement all wrapped into one. He is my other half and I thank my lucky stars every day that he forgave my young and dumb self and got to see me after I had hit rock bottom and climbed my way back up and became someone who I was proud of being. TLDR met in 2007 and I was a selfish, spoiled brat, dealing with issues. Met back up in 2011 after I figured out how to be a decent human and started dating again. Married 5 years later. I don't have a love life now, but I have some few experiences that I can one day tell my kids, worthy of a teen novel or Lifetime movie. Hey, the one I would tell my grandkids one day. Long story short, I fell in love with my best friend. Total polar opposites, we always bickered yet in some ways we always had each other back. By the time I realized I was in love with him, after having a near-death EXP, and he was the last person in my mind that jolted me to jump off a running vehicle. Best friend tells me that he is in love with the college sweetheart who is also my friend and asked me help to get the girl. You would think friend zone story, right? So stupid me helped him. He got the girl and soon we drifted apart due to other reasons and graduation. Though heartbroken, I realized with him, I've experienced in my case my strongest form of unconditional love. Years passed, I still haven't spoken to him. I had relationships but nowhere as intense as my feelings for best friend. His GF / my old classmate came to see me at work out of the blue. During lunch she tells me that I should have ended up with him. WTF. Had to listen how he loved me, blah blah, didn't believe her. Told her and reminded her the stuff my best friend had to go through just to win her. She was the most popular girl in our college and my friend had a lot of opposition on their relationship. She gave me a sad smile and told me that he always loved me, especially after me nearly dying. Later that week spoke to our common friends. In fact, most of our classmates. It's confirmed. He made them swear never to let me know that he loved me in a romantic way. He loved me too much that he was afraid of hurting me. See about that near-death incident. This is what happened from his side. After my near-death, I texted my classmates, I was in a boarding house, to let them know what happened. Somehow when it got to him, the story escalated that I was assaulted and grievously injured, so he made a mad dash to my dorm. The only time he hugged me, he hates PDS, and stayed with me till morning. After talking to our old friends, I came home, cried my heart out for all that stress, years lost of what could have beens. But in the end, what's done is done. Plus I was planning on leaving town and I love him still too much and his GF equally, so I don't plan on ruining that. I left town, locked and sealed that part of my heart. Sadly him and his GF broke up years later. They are now with their respective SOs and are seemingly happy. I haven't spoken to both in almost 10 years. In my home there's a pic of 17-year-old me with him, the only picture we had together. It's a reminder of the one time I felt what true love is. And though I no longer harbor feelings for him, I'm grateful for the experience. TLDR, fell in love with best friend, never told him. Got friend zoned and help him get the girl. Years later GF tells me he always loved me. I was doing a year abroad in Paris, my 4th year of college. I met him maybe a month in through a friend, who he had gone to lycée with him. I basically immediately had a crush on him, but I had a boyfriend at the time, though it wasn't that great, and he was back home. One day he had a bunch of people over at his apartment and I got very, very drunk with his roommate. I kept mentioning I had to go home. It was a metro ride and a bit of a walk back to my housing, and me going home alone made him uncomfortable, so he put me to bed in his room. He made me drink water, left me more and got me a bucket, and sat with me until I fell asleep in his bed. He wasn't annoyed or angry or anything over this dumb American girl thinking she could go shot for shot with his best friend who was a notorious drinker. He just wanted me to be okay. I felt entirely safe knowing he was there. I basically woke up the next day in his bed, and realized how glad I was that I was there. Then promptly thought, oh shot, you. Broke up with my boyfriend the next day. Boyfriend lost his shit, understandably. A week later we went on our first date, and dated until I had to leave to go back to the US in August. I had one semester of school left and I hated every moment of not being around him. I missed my friends, I missed my city, but I missed him the most. He was apparently in the same state, so after a month we started talking about when I could come back, how that would work out, etc., and basically came to the realization the easiest way things would work is if we got married. We got married a month after I finished college, went through the mess that is getting French residency and then citizenship, and adopted a kid. It'll be 8 years in February that we got married. Was in high school. Was the new kid, moved around a lot after my dad passed away. Being the new kid, girls was taking interest in me, so it wasn't uncommon most of them came up talking to me. Over the next few weeks, I would catch these girls looking at me through office doors in the school and stuff. One day after band, some girl is walking by with her friend as I am leaving. She goes, "Oh, look girl, he has some pretty eyes." I have long eyelashes. The girl's friend goes, "Let me see," then they proceed to stare in my eyes. Was a little strange, but then my mom rolls up, I have to leave. A couple months later I sit outside on the bench waiting for my mom to pick me up after band practice again. I hear a girl go, "PSST, PSST." I look over and it's the same girl that pointed out my pretty eyes. I go, "Oh God, here we go." She beckons me to come over. I go over to her. She goes, "What is your name?" I give them my name and she instantly looks me up on Facebook with her friends. They proceed to go through all my pictures on Facebook and making conclusions about me and asking me questions about myself. They all tell me they will send me a friend request. One of the girls' moms appear and they have to leave, so they get up to go. The girl that called me over goes, "I will be seeing you around," and hops in the car. I wasn't sure what to think of the girl. She was pretty, a thick girl, seemed very upfront and more talkative than me, that was for certain. As soon as I get home the girl messaged me on Facebook. We talk and end up becoming friends. She wants to hang around with me all the time and stuff. I go, "Sure, whatever." Some months pass and it's very apparent she wants to date me. I'm unsure just because she seems a total opposite from me. She is loud, outgoing. I'm more reserved and quiet. She likes to go out all the time. I would rather stay inside, watch TV or play games. She loves celebs and what they are doing. I could care less. She is more impulsive, emotional. I'm more rational, technical. But I figured least I can do is see what she is like. We were just recently married and I love my baby. Yes, we are total opposites, but that causes us to complement each other well. When I need someone to be more outspoken, it is her. When she needs someone to be rational, I am there. We understand our differences, and even though they are there, we don't let that break us apart. I pray and hope things will get stronger than they already are and we last for years to come.